career? Have you been giving recitals?
Yes, but not so frequently. I think I prefer to be an opera singer. I don't like very much recitals, but it's interesting sometimes to do recitals.
So if you don't like it as much, but it still has its moments.
Yes, yes, of course. During the year, I can sometimes 4, 7, 8, no more than 10 recitals during the year.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the time is just for opera performance.
Mm-hmm. Do you have to learn a song any differently than you would an aria or a part? I mean, you don't have to act, but do you I don't know, is there a difference in your approach to a small piece, a miniature?
Well, for many reasons, a recital of this kind, I find that it's more difficult than singing in an opera.
More difficult.
Because in an opera you have one character, and you develop it. You develop it during the whole period of the opera, first, second, and third act. It is very much more easy for a singer to build a personage during the opera. In a concert, you have to build a personage through only small area.
Uh-huh. So
Then
you really have to.
Then you have to work a lot in everything you have to sing, and try to obtain something in order to give something also to the audience, to give an impression in a small piece of music about the whole personage.
You just gave this recital in Pasadena.
I just the day before, the night before yesterday.
So how did that go? How did you feel about?
Oh, I feel fine, very nice. The audience was good, beautiful. They enjoy it. They like it very much. What it means that sometimes the audience who normally is for the opera, they also enjoy this kind of recitals. They like antique and classic arias and something different. I think that this kind of audience, they like the singer. Then everything you do,
You're all right then.
they appreciate it. They say, okay.
Well, I wanted to try a little experiment with you because we first encountered, at least I first encountered you on recordings through a small company called Montilla.
Yeah.
And when I first came to WQXR, which was, I don't know even when, late 50s and so on,
Yes.
we had these recordings coming through a whole series of Zarzuelas, and you were always the lead tenor.
Yeah.
So were you in the Zarzuela theater, actually?
No, never. I never went in the Zarzuela theater. I just, because in Spain, the people, they like also the Zarzuela. The only way to be in the Zarzuela was the disco for me.
Oh, so via
was the
recordings,
record. Was the record, because I started like an opera singer, and I also and always continue to be an opera singer. But for records, I found was very fun. It was very interesting in order to conquist a little this kind of people, this audience, a very large one, not only in Europe but also in South America, that they like and they enjoy this as well.
All right, let's listen to a little bit of this one. The recording, who knows? No date on it, but
probably 1956 or 57.
Yes. All right. So
Yeah.
quite a time back.
Quite a time.
The piece is by Amadeo Vives. It's Doña Francisquita.
Cuando sea una señora, por mi amor, por verte de un caballero, yo seré, no podré con mis amigos. ¿Quiénes son? Claro está. Como yo estaré casada, como yo, este solo permitido, que tendrá, cuando salga por las tardes, dígalo, pasear con mi marido, pues seré yo ese hombre afortunado. Pobres de mis sueños, no desesperes, sin embargo, sus anhelos. Que si mi amor le aumenta sobre no sigan a comer.
Viva pasión que hace estallar mi corazón.
Una flor de pronto, solo es flor de un día, en la misma forma que llega se olvida.
Yo no olvido,
¡Qué ilusiones!
yo la adoro.
No se enojen,
Bella locura, sol que me alumbra, que ya no pueda mi amor conquistar. Su corazón,
Fernando, Dios,
porque se va,
comprenda usted.
mas volverá.
Vendré después.
La espero aquí.
Adiós.
Adiós.
Recording from the 1950s by Alfredo Kraus with soprano Ana Maria Olaria
Yes.
and Daniel Montorio conducting. So that was your early recording days, right?
Yeah, I think it was my first record.
Well, as you listen to it all these years later.
Oh, no, no. I never listen to my records.
No, huh?
No, I am so unhappy. I don't like to do records. I don't like to have records.
Oh, well, I understand that. You hear them, but you don't like to do them either.
I don't like really. I hate it.
Now, Tony Colon is sitting here from Angel Records and glowering at you because you're making all these great records.
Well,
and
I like to be sincere. I really prefer to sing with an auditorium, with an audience.
Well, I have never really understood why record companies go through all this expense of editing and plotting and planning and when they could just put their microphones in the opera house and
Yeah,
3 hours later they got their disc.
It was always my idea, but they prefer different sound and better sound. I prefer better life.
Yes, the natural
Yes.
quality. Well, all right, we are going to take a brief time out and then talk to Alfredo Kraus about his concert program here
Yes.
in New York.
The lights are on again.
What sort of pieces have you put together?
Well, I didn't count it, but I have first part is a classic Italian arias, and finish with a very long and beautiful recitative, an aria from concert from Mozart. And that's I think is the best point in the whole concert, and the most difficult, of course. But it depends on the audience. Sometimes they enjoy better a little more easier musica. Then in the second part, I have French, Massenet, and Donizetti, Tosti, and finish with Spanish, modern music.
Do you feel more comfortable in Spanish music than others because you do
Well,
so much?
Not really. I like Spanish music. I feel that also the light Spanish music, the very. Then I think that just to finish the concert is a little more impressive, a little more aggressive, a little more dramatic.
Alfredo Kraus, how did you come to music? You said that you always were interested in opera.
Yes.
But where did you grow up? What city?
Well, I was born in Las Palmas, and I started to be an aficionado in Las Palmas when I was a child, singing in the church. And when I was 17, 18, I just started to be interested in more serious vocal music.
But did you have a chance to hear opera, for instance, there?
No, never. Just the only thing we had was a very bad period. First we were our civil war, and after we had but it was during the big war, and we only had the Spanish companies who they made Zarzuela. But group of friends, we join each other with records, then we can hear Gilli and Maria Canidia and Tito Gobbi and I don't know how many, and the older singers.
So how did you actually get into the singing of opera and to the performing of it?
Well, I started, I tell you, about 17, 18 to do meetings with friends, and we start to study just for our fun. And when the group was prepared, we did a benefic concerts in my city. That was all. Then everybody started to say, why your voice is good, why you don't study seriously, could be nice, interesting, so on. So then I started to think about, and through a few years when I was finishing my university studies, I was thinking, and I decided that I would like to be a singer. Then I moved to Barcelona, Valencia, and at the end to Milan to study. And I finished my studies in Milan and started my career in Milan.
So you really started and began your springboard was Italy.
Yeah, it was Italy. I always thought that for a singer to have the last touch, it was necessary to go to Italy and learn the language and learn how to sing
And really be
in the right
comfortable
way.
with it.
Yes.
We mentioned, or at least Alfredo Kraus mentioned, that he will be doing matinee on his recital program on Wednesday at Fisher Hall. So we thought we would adjourn next to French opera and Werther. You wanted to spend time in Italy to feel the natural quality of the language. Did you spend time in France for the same reason? Because it sounds
No,
like
it comes very, very later.
Ah.
Just, I don't know, just because I start to sing, I remember Per Fischer in Italian and Manon de Massenet in Italian. Then somebody says from outside, why you don't sing this in French? It's the original language. I say, why not? Then I start to study
I see.
in French, and now, the people, even in Italy, they change their mind now. They like to do the original operas in the original language.
So that has...
Because years ago, they don't use it. They didn't use it. They only, everything was in French, in Italian, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like in France, for years in the opera, everything was in French. They didn't use it also
That's
to
right.
sing
That's
the
right.
Italian operas in Italian. But even now in Germany, many opera houses, they continue to sing every opera in Germany.
Yes, and that must be very confusing for an artist who learns it in one language and has
yes, it is, and it's also difficult. And I think that if you change the original language, something is lost. The spirit of the author, the words, the lyrics, it's not the same when you translate from one language to another.
Alfredo Kraus, I wanted to go back to something you said earlier. You were describing your program. You have the early songs, Scarlatti and things, and then you said you're coming to the Mozart, which is the highlight of the program and also the most difficult. What makes a piece difficult for you? Is it the range, the expressive quality, the dramatic element?
I think it's an amount of things. You put all together, then it's difficult. Mozart for the style, for the expression, for the recitative. I always found that Mozart recitatives are the most important and the more difficult thing. And in general, people doesn't care about recitatives. They only think that I have to sing, and that's not really true. You have to talk, to speak. In the recitative, you have to speak at the way that Mozart would like to. And that's really very difficult. And also, this piece is very strange because normally Mozart composed for the tenor in a very small way. I don't think he appreciated very much the tenor. But in this partitura, Mozart wrote for the tenor beautiful pages with all kind of high notes, low notes, everything.
I see.
That is very unusual in Mozart.
And you really have to keep busy then.
Yeah, a little busy.
All right, we are going to try to sample for you the recital art of Alfredo Kraus. Of course, as we've indicated, most of the recordings that we know, and even some of those that we don't know, are operatically inclined, or the Zarzuela is a variation thereof. But there is an album that Mr. Kraus has brought along that does have a song recital. And you've suggested one called Santa Cruz by De Luna. Salvador Ruiz de Luna is a contemporary.
It's a contemporary. He died 2 years ago. Yeah.
And
He was a composer, a very fine musician who was specialized in folklore, Spanish folklore. Then he invented these albums, supposed to be about 10 LP. He never finished. Actually, we can complete maybe only 5. He intended to do Cancionero Hispánico, all the Spanish music, folklore, Spanish music, the whole country, South America inclusive. And the particularity of this, of those records, is that never before anybody tried to put together a Spanish song in a cultivated voice and a real pianist. And I think it's very, very interesting.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, you have some of De Luna's pieces on the program. Are those
Yes.
folk songs? Are those that type
Really,
of arrangement?
folk songs, but arranged for to be a piece of concert like La Turina, etc.
And Santa Cruz refers to what?
Santa Cruz is one of the Canary Islands.
Ah.
Santa Cruz de Tenerife.
Santa Cruz de Tenerife, tormento de mis amores, porque guardan tus jardines la más bella de las flores. Delicada cual la rosa, fragante como el clavel, ligera cual mariposa y dulce como la miel, mi Santa Cruz era hermosa. De Santa Cruz a Tegueste, ay la laguna, de Tegueste a la laguna, voy buscando quien me quiera. Voy buscando quien me quiera, pero no tengo fortuna. De Santa Cruz de Tegueste a la laguna. Santa Cruz de Tenerife, ¿quién la pudiera encontrar?
Santa Cruz by Salvador de Luna. That piece not on Alfredo Kraus's recital program Wednesday, but several other de Luna folk song transcriptions are. And the program, of course, includes many, many other types and forms of music, Torino songs, songs of Tosti, pieces of Donizetti, Massenet, Mozart, the concert aria, and the early pieces of Bononcini and Scarlatti and others. The concert of Alfredo Kraus, Wednesday at Avery Fisher Hall. B, incidentally, Mr. Kraus's only New York appearance of the season, so double reason to head down there on Wednesday. We'll head back for further conversations at our musical finale for these final announcements. Where you have more concerts in...
I have a couple of more concerts in this country. I have to go to Miami in February. I go to Chicago at the end, not at the end, December 14th, and the day after I go home, because just now it's more than 2 months I am out
Ah, I see.
singing for the whole world.
Where is your home? Where is your head?
I am from the Canary Island, but I'm living in Madrid now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And what sort of musical involvements do your
Activities?
family have?
Oh, my family is not in this occupation.
Not at all.
No one.
I see.
I think one is enough in the family
I see.
to have the others. They do a normal life. Our life is not normal.
No, it is true. You do
Yeah,
hop
we
around a
go
bit.
opera. We go around the world without
You-
any.
That audiences in different parts of the world are very different, or may
Well, there are a small difference. It depends of the kind of education they have, the level of culture, and also it depends the character, the Latin, the people from the north, the
Well-
Saxon.
In Spain now, is there a greater awareness of, or is it still basically the Zarzuela that is?
No. I say that the interest for the opera is bigger than the one for the Zarzuela.
Oh, it is?
Oh,
You mean
yes,
it's switched
really.
around?
Yeah, I switch around. It happens because the people want to know more things, and also because the Zarzuela needs some kind of official help, and we don't have really. The government, they don't spend money for culture things like music, or they spend in a very small quantity. That's not enough. Then it's a group of new singers that they would like to be more protected about the Zarzuela, because it's a way to start, to do something. But for the moment, the situation is still the same, but not really for the opera. Almost every important city has a short season. Sometimes they don't have any official help, but they create the friends of the opera. This is a private way to do opera,
Yes.
almost. Yeah.
You said earlier, Alfredo Kraus, that you, well, I forget the phrase you used, but you're not crazy about recording. You don't like to listen to them, you don't
Yeah,
like to make them.
Yeah, it's okay.
When you prepare a role for recording, as since we're going to hear an aria from Puritani, now when you were learning this role, simply because you had to record it than you would have if you didn't have to record it, or would you learn it differently if you didn't have to do it in the opera house?
No, I really think that my way to do the opera is just trying to do the same. I did it always on the stage, and maybe better. That is very difficult, of course. And also, you have a different conductor, or the conductor you never made the opera ensemble. It started to be a little more difficult. But before we recorded, we of course do a few rehearsals. And in this occasion, then we are now going to hear Puritani. We did many rehearsals with Maestro Muti, and I have to say that I was very happy because it helped me. I had a big experience before because for more than 20 years I was singing the opera with the great